What's cooking, WWE Nation? This is Ringside Insider, bringing you fresh wrestling heat every day. Smash subscribe and let's jump right in. No matter how long you've been watching wrestling, there are moments that genuinely blindside you. And what happened on SmackDown with Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed was one of those rare moments that stops the entire show. Fans at home, the audience in the arena, even the commentary team all seemed equally stunned as one of WWE's most promising partnerships suddenly imploded in the most unexpected way possible. For months, Bron and Bronson had been a dominant, confident duo tearing through teams with ease, and then within seconds their entire alliance fell apart. It wasn't teased, it wasn't hinted at, and nothing in recent weeks suggested tension, which is why the whole wrestling world is still asking the same question. Why in the world did Bron Breakker do this? The moment that changed everything. The segment began like any other match they've had together. Power, chemistry, and an aura of unstoppable momentum. They were in complete control, moving with that familiar synchronicity that made them one of the most believable powerhouse teams on the roster. But then, out of nowhere, Breakker turned around and delivered a sudden, explosive spear to Bronson Reed that completely halted the match's flow. It wasn't a slow build-up turn. It wasn't a dramatic pause. It wasn't a conflicted expression. It was quick and decisive, like a switch had flipped. Fans didn't even have time to process the impact before Breakker followed up with more aggression, reinforcing that this wasn't a miscommunication or an accident. It was a choice, and one that left Reed stunned, confused, and completely unprepared. Commentary and crowd reaction. What made the moment even more surreal was hearing the raw shock in the voices of Michael Cole and Corey Graves. These are two commentators who have watched and analyzed decades of twists and turns, yet neither of them sounded like they knew this was coming. Cole kept asking, "Why? Why now?" while Graves openly admitted he had no explanation. The reaction in the arena mirrored that confusion. Fans were standing, shouting, covering their mouths, trying to understand what they were seeing. Even people who normally pick up on booking patterns were caught off guard. It's rare in modern wrestling for a turn to genuinely stun the entire audience, but this one did. The silence that created more questions. After the attack, Breakker didn't explain himself. No microphone, no backstage segment, no cryptic message. Nothing. He just stared down at Bronson Reed, then straight into the camera, and walked away without a single word. That silence is what has the wrestling community buzzing the most. When a big betrayal happens, fans expect an immediate clue or explanation, but WWE chose to give us mystery instead. And whether you think that's genius or frustrating depends on what kind of storytelling you prefer, instant answers or slow burn motives. A partnership built on mutual respect. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed weren't just thrown together randomly. They chose each other. Two big, powerful competitors who saw value in combining their strengths. And over the past few months, their partnership became one of SmackDown's most reliable highlights. Reed, who has had a roller coaster WWE career filled with stop-and-start pushes, finally found stable momentum with Breakker. Meanwhile, Breakker, a second-generation standout with elite athleticism and legacy pressure on his shoulders, seemed comfortable and confident working alongside Reed. That's why this breakup feels so personal, because the story they built together felt authentic. What does this mean for Breakker? If WWE handles this well, this could be the moment that launches Bron Breakker into top-tier superstardom as a singles competitor. He has the intensity, charisma, and physicality to be a marquee heel if that's the direction they're steering him. But there are risks too. Breakker was gaining popularity as a dominant, straightforward competitor, and turning him too early could disrupt that upward trajectory. WWE will need to commit to whatever direction they choose for him so this turn doesn't feel like a shock for shock's sake. Bronson Reed's new role. While Reed has historically excelled as a tough, imposing powerhouse, this storyline suddenly places him in a sympathetic role, something he hasn't been positioned in. Often fans now want to see him get justice, recover, and confront the partner who blindsided him. It creates emotional investment that could help reshape his character in a compelling way. The key will be how WWE balances his natural toughness with this new layer of vulnerability. If done correctly, Reed could evolve into one of the most emotionally engaging big men on the roster. Where the story should go next. The next SmackDown is absolutely crucial. WWE can't afford to let this simmer without direction. Bronson needs to react, whether through a promo, a medical update, or even a pre-taped message, and Breakker needs to explain why he made this decision, because the entire feud will depend on that motivation. Once the why is established, WWE can build a multi-match rivalry that could dominate the blue brand for months. These two have the size, the athleticism, and the chemistry to deliver standout matches with different stipulations that escalate the conflict naturally. Fan reactions and community debate social media erupted the second the betrayal aired. Some fans absolutely loved the unpredictability and felt SmackDown needed a major storyline shakeup. Others argued that the tag team division needed Breakker and Reed far more than the singles division does. And then there's the middle group, the wait-and-see fans, who want to reserve judgment until WWE reveals Breakker's motive. What's fascinating is that all three perspectives have strong arguments, which shows how deeply invested people were in this partnership. The potential long-term impact. If WWE plays this right, this feud could define SmackDown's 2025. Breakker versus Reed has the potential to be physical, emotional, unpredictable, and legitimately career-altering for both men. These two are uniquely matched in size and ability, which means their matches could be some of the hardest-hitting, most compelling heavyweight clashes on the roster. The key now is patience, letting the story breathe, letting the emotions build, and giving both wrestlers the spotlight they deserve. Final word, SmackDown didn't just give us a heel turn, they gave us a turning point. Bron Breakker's decision to betray Bronson Reed wasn't just shocking, it was storyline shifting. And whether the wrestling world ends up loving or hating this moment, one thing is undeniable. Everyone is talking about it. That's the goal of great wrestling storytelling. Now it's up to WWE to make the next chapter live up to the one that stunned us all.